I'm going to read to you from the memoir, Schoolhouse, and I do honor, I'm going to actually bookend the reading tonight with some quotes from Thoreau, Henry David Thoreau. And I use one of his as an epigraph in the book, which says, "Only that day dawns to which we are awake." A couple other things about the book. When you get a chance to walk over and look at the cover, you'll see the picture on here. And this is this one-room schoolhouse that I lived in for about a year and a half, about 25 years ago. And you can't see it from here, but it was in the midst of 500 acres of land, and most of that was woodland. And I knew at the time that I would never live like that again. I would never have it set up like that again. And part of why I ended up writing the book was I needed to share it with the rest of you. There's only so many treasures you can hold on your own. And being a book about a schoolhouse, I ended up sort of organizing it, and we can talk a little later if you're interested in talking about how the things get structured. I organized the book around a number of different chapters that are named after subjects that might well show up in an elementary school if you were learning there. Titles like geography, civics, spelling, anatomy, homework, what I did on my summer vacation, things like that end up being the chapter names I've had. I'm going to read you a little bit mostly from the beginning of the book and set up some things for you. Okay. And again, segueing from Thoreau's talk about being awake. Sometimes it's like a dream, a sleepwalking. The way you move through your surroundings, through doorways, backyards, decades, one unconscious foot following the other. Perhaps for a moment you're able to focus on a color or sound or even a face, yet before you can name it, it passes. Or sometimes it may just be a memory unblurring before you. A day in 1992, for example. Early autumn, as I recall. I'm standing on my head atop a hillside somewhere in the midst of the Midwest, and I'm not dreaming. What I am doing is trying to make an ocean out of the endless sky, trying to link this landscape with another I can at least recognize. My bare toes dangle into the froth of clouds below, and soon a pair of hawks float by, belly up, revealing white underwings. A faint fluttering rises within my chest, the wing beats of memory, a fading photograph. Oh, a woman's name, Sybil. I dig my brow into the grass for a better hold, but soon grow dizzy and drop my feet back to the ground. Thankfully, my shadow is still there, slanting below. What with the earth spinning at over 1,000 miles per hour, both balance and bearing seem critical. Most of us are thrust into this world head first and upside down, most quickly slapped into our first awareness. They tell me the doctor struck 3 times before I cried out, for which I was dubbed stubborn. Of course, I can't remember the incident, but have always figured I was just a little stunned for the moment at the sudden light, waiting for focus, for the clarity to sink in. And then it took until grade school before a reading teacher actually recognized I was myopic, badly myopic. Each year, a thicker pair of eyeglasses helped better frame the blackboard's many lessons, and by the end of high school, contact lenses added some peripheries. But the truth is, the bigger picture kept escaping me. I remained short-sighted and slow to respond to what passed before me, slow to get things said or done, playing catch-up for most of my life. Stumbling toward hindsight, I've come to call it. I've come to think we all experience one love that stays with us, at least one impassioned relationship that, for better or worse, upends us. For me, mine just happened to be a May-December affair. And when it started, I was barely 21, and Sybil was turning 40. Me, a babe in the woods of Manhattan skyscrapers, and she already married and separated, a mother of 3 boys, the eldest of whom was merely 3 years younger than me. Ridiculous? Perhaps. Fabulous and deluded, fated to fail? For sure. And yet, we went on together for 10 years. And decades later, while all those years are well in my rear view, some nights she still turns up in my dreams, wandering in, unresolved. Clearly something finally and fully needed to be addressed, or better yet, redressed for the way we both did and didn't part ways. So that opens it up and lets you know a little bit of why I sort of wound up going to Iowa. In part, I was trying, ostensibly I was going to go to school and learn how to write, but I was also a little bit on the lam, trying to figure out how to get out of a relationship. And like I said, I was a little slow. At this point, I was like 30, 31. Some of you have already experienced this in undergrad, I imagine, to some extent. How do you get in a relationship? How do you get out of a relationship? So the book goes forward a little bit and tells you a little bit of the background of Sybil and I, where we met in New York City. There was a period of time I lived in Venice, Italy as well, and we spent time there. It follows through a series of jobs that I was doing, all of them myopic, dumb, dead-end jobs. I don't even think I could call them dead-end. They were just whatever I could pick up. Some of those were bike messenger. I worked in theater box offices. I worked in a circus. You found work as you could have. But through all those years, the one thing that did remain constant was Sybil. For 10 years, we were together. All right. And yet, at a certain period of time, I decided I was going to go try and learn how to write in grad school. So here I was, taking off again, trying out yet another potential vocation. This time my plan was to attend graduate school, which seemed level-headed enough. So come one human morning in late summer, Sybil and I found ourselves standing opposite one another on Lower Lexington Avenue sidewalk. At the curbside sat my car, its trunk wedged full, my apartment upstairs, sublet for now. She handed me my last bag, which I slid across the front seat. So, she said, the both of us now empty-handed. I could feel sweat running under my arms, see a similar drop pooling in the tiny dint between her collarbones. I reached out and dampened it with my fingertip. I glanced away at the passing traffic, at the courses of brick on the building across the street, at our feet, where a tiny yellow candy wrapper lay on the curb, anywhere but into her eyes. So, I said, but it was all I too could muster. We stood on for another moment or two, then reached out for our hug and kissed goodbye. Was this what a decade together was all coming down to? Some scrap of litter on the sidewalk and an awkward embrace? How could I be leaving her at the curbside? How could I ever leave Sybil behind? Still, I felt the jolt of the car slipping into gear below me. I saw the back of her dress receding in the rearview mirror. Midway through the Holland Tunnel, I started to hyperventilate, the dashboard swimming. Wait, where are you flitting to now? Iowa. God, you must really be crazy this time. Turn around, turn back. Yet I didn't. I couldn't, not anymore. One of us had to take a step, even if that step was one of retreat, even if neither of us could admit that's what was happening.